Eight. Hello, hello, and welcome to the Mindset Bloomcast with Mallory. I am your host, Mallory McGary. I am the founder and CEO of Beautifully Blooming. You can find me at beautifullyblooming.com or email me at mallory@beautifullyblooming.com. You are listening to the WGSN-DB Going Solo Network radio, TV, and podcast, the #1 internet talk network. So today we are going to follow back on the same episode that we did last week. We've got two special guests with us today. We got my little girl and my friend Ryanne. I just met her over the internet. So we met actually officially this morning, but now we are fast friends and going to be friends forever. I have followed her content for a while, and she has just really inspired me especially this last month, because she helps moms with their mindset, and they find that in February, her whole thing was self-love, which we talked about on our last episode. So we're going to dive into this full episode of self-love because she's got a lot of good tidbits from it, because she has created an amazing affirmation card deck called the Momformations, right? Momformations? Yep. And her own course, which helps moms thrive, go from surviving to thriving. So, Ryanne, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Detail about what you do, how you came up with your program, and let's just dive into self-love. Just dive in whenever you feel ready.
Just jump right in, huh?
Just
okay.
Jump right in.
So, as you said, so my name's Ryanne. I am here in Utah, same with Mallory, and I consider myself a mindset mentor for moms. I am a mental health advocate, passionate about all things. I actually use the term uniting momkind as kind of my business slogan, because you've heard of mankind, but like, we're here for moms. Like that's my audience. That's who I want to reach. That's who I have everything in common with. And that is my whole sole purpose, is to bring women together. There's enough competition, enough comparison. Like, I just want to unite all of us together. And by doing so, I feel like if we cut out all the superficial stuff and we dive, dig deep to what really matters, to what we're all looking for. Like, we want connection, we want community, but it's hard these days because there's so many roadblocks, and social media can be great, but it also can be really devastating to our mental health. And so I just want to bridge that gap and create more awareness around maternal mental health, but also help women in the meantime, those struggling with it, trying to better their mindset. I feel like everything in motherhood boils down to bettering your mindset, whether it's self-love, whether it's relationships between you and your children, or you and your spouse, or even other family members. Whether you're a mompreneur and you want to chase a business and you want to do all the things, right? Like I've been there. I've started multiple businesses. I have a huge soft spot in my heart for moms in business, because it is hard enough to be a mom, let alone a mom running a business or working full time or doing whatever it is you do. I don't want to say forced, but I really didn't have a choice for my first 11 years of motherhood. And so I worked full-time and then part-time for a few years after that in the operating room. And I don't care whether you're starting a business or you're working in corporate America or whatever it is you're doing, like, you are hustling, and it is a hard job, and you do not get enough credit. None of us do. So I don't care where you are on the mom spectrum, like, we all deserve a lot more credit than we get. So I
love that.
Thank you. I have 3 kids, ages 12. I have a 12-year-old daughter, a 10-year-old son, and a 6-year-old daughter. So they are involved in lots of sports. So, doing the mom things, I'm like constantly running in every different direction. But I preach a lot about self-love, which is what we're focusing on this month. I've found over the years of talking about everything, like, mindset is a very broad umbrella. But if we can focus on one thing a month, I feel like it helps us to better ourselves more easily than like being overwhelmed with all these things that I have to do. Right. So I thought, you know what, it's February. We've got the month of love ahead of us. And so let's just dive into doing what really matters. And that is loving ourselves, because so oftentimes we feel like we're just in fight or flight, right? Constantly. And we know that feeling of being put on the back burner. There's been lots of like reels and memes and stuff the past couple of years about pouring from an empty cup. And I like to break it down even more. And it's not just that, yes, we need to be able to pour from a full cup in so that we can pour into others. But I don't want to just do that so that you can pour into others. I want women to have that full cup for them. Like,
I love that.
Fill your cup for you, not just so that you can pour from it. Like, fill it with all the things that you need to help you survive and you thrive so that you can pour into others. I think so many times it's kind of a misconception where people think, oh, I just need to fill it so I can give to everyone else. No, you need to fill it for you. And so I talk a lot about, I joked a little bit about it on a post a few weeks ago, but like, it's not, self-love is not selfish. And a lot of people think that is moms themselves specifically, right? Like we think, oh, I can't do that. Like for me, I need to be doing this for my kids. And I always say it's not vanity. It's sanity. Like you do it for you, because guess what? You're a better mom when you start taking care of yourself, like physically, most importantly, mentally, socially, like everything, emotionally. So I love like giving little hints of wisdom and things I've learned and things that have worked for me, because my whole purpose with what I do is to serve the younger version of myself. And I think really, I think anyone, if that's what you can do, like especially people in the coaching and that type of self-help world, you learn, you create triumphs through trials, right? And so what is it that I would want to tell that 20-year-old something Ryanne who was struggling on those dark days? So that's kind of where I put myself, and okay, how can I help someone that has been where I've been? How can I help them come out better and not have to suffer mentally or, go through the things that I had? How can I make their road easier for them?
I love that. So I'm going back to filling up the cup. I talk a lot about how you fill up the cup, but you're really pouring from your, dig around. You're really pouring from your overflow is really what it is. You need to fill up your own cup, because you're filling up, if you spill out and find something else, or like, then you're dumping out from the overflow, which is great. And which is so important, is to fill up from the overflow. Okay.
Well, here's the thing is, if your overflow, if what we consider overflow is stress, overwhelm, like all of these negative emotions, what are you pouring into others? I guarantee it's not positivity and, like uplifting or empowering thoughts. Like you're just barely surviving. So when we decide to put ourselves first, and we're doing all those things, right? We're dedicating time to ourselves. We're investing in our mindset. We're maybe reading some personal development or listening to uplifting podcasts. We're doing all of those things. What I call inner work or soul work. That is what makes us feel better. Like that is self-love. And I think we have this misunderstanding with self-love, because when we think of self-love, we think of self-care. And the world has taught us like, oh, self-care is going and getting a mani-pedi or a massage or retail therapy and treating yourself, right? But true self-love comes from within, and you cannot, no matter what you do on your outside, you can spend as much money on you want and pampering yourself and doing all those things. But if you do not invest in the inner work, you're never going to feel whole. And I think that was my problem. Like I just never understood that, I'm like, oh, you have to create the environment that you want on the outside in the inside first. And so much of that boils down to our mindset and how we deal with certain situations and conversations and thoughts, right? Thought work is a huge one. Morning routines for me are a huge thing. Like for years, I never had a morning routine because I got up so early because I had to be to the hospital.
Had to be at the operating room.
Yeah, at 6:30. And so I was just like constantly like fight or flight. But it wasn't until I started learning about mindset and I was like, you know what? I'm tired whether I get up at 5:30. I'm just going to get up at 4:30 instead. Like I'm tired regardless, And so I just started getting up earlier and meditating. I kind of like include meditation / prayer, and it's like a 15-minute thing for me, but that's how I start. That's how I start my mornings, right? Gratitude is a huge practice for me. So I'm giving gratitude. I'm focusing on prayer and meditation, and then journaling is a big one. I also call it like brain dumping because as a mom, I always have 1,000 tabs open in my computer in my head. And so being able to just like look through my day on my calendar. I'm also an Enneagram 1. So like spreadsheets and calendars I live by. But I'm writing things down. I'm mentally focusing on the day ahead of me. And then I, of course, do like personal development, my affirmations, and it doesn't have to be long, but creating a very structured morning routine as a mom is absolutely key and fundamental to just making you a better mom in general. And so many women, I think, struggle with that because they're like, and I'm guilty. I did this too. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just can't. I don't have time. I wake up early already. I go during the day. I get home from work, and then I've got, gymnastics and basketball or whatever it is, and then dinner, and then homework, and then I'm too tired. Like as soon as my head hits the pillow, bam, I'm out. But guess what? Those are excuses. We all have 24 hours a day. Okay. It's like 1,440 minutes. And there are a lot of those minutes that I choose to do unhealthy things, right? Like maybe it's sitting on my phone scrolling longer than I should. Maybe it's, watching Netflix or whatever. And so I sometimes have some harsh truths that I like to put out there, but my whole goal with it is just to like create awareness, like stop complaining about it if you're not going to do anything about it. Get up off your butt, get up earlier, create healthy habits. The book Atomic Habits, you've probably read it, but I love that book, and I love how it simplifies, like, okay, this is what you need to do. Atomic means small, right? Like when I think of atomic, it's funny because when I read that book,
want to think,
I think like the atomic bomb, like boom, huge.
Like it's so much things.
Yeah, they're like, no, break it down like an atom. It's the smallest thing ever, right? So these tiny habits, and then we stack these habits. And when you do something for 14 to 21 days, it becomes a habit. So if you can show up for yourself for 2 weeks, you're going to make it easier on yourself to start showing up in that way forever for the rest of your life. And I don't care where you are. Maybe you just like sleep and you don't want to get up, or maybe you are an early riser already. And so you use that as a crutch. Like I'm already up early. I can't do anything more than that.
Exactly.
Well, crap, you can. Yes, you can.
Yes. So I found too that not only is like having a good morning routine, because I've had to work into a good morning routine. It's taken me a while, but also having a good nighttime routine actually has set me up for a really great morning routine where it's not like I work out in the morning, but I'm going to say this too. I didn't start out going from like waking up at 7 to waking up at 5. It was like I started at waking up at 7, then I'd be like, okay, 6:30. And then I went backwards slowly because I knew there was no way I was going to make it from 7 to 5 in a day. I had to go backwards. Sometimes it would be like, okay, 15 minutes. It was like 6:45 and then going back. So it's a lot to take on, and getting up earlier is great, but you don't have to jump from so drastically too. I kept trying to do that, and I feel like I would fail every single time because I wouldn't make it. But then when I just started going, okay, it's like 15 minutes here. Oh, and I do that for a week and then add another 15 minutes on, and I could do that for another week and another 15. And then all of a sudden it became that habit for me too. And I listened to this podcast by Mel Robbins the other day that actually talked fully about the things that the number one productivity hack was having a really great morning routine. But the whole episode was focused on the things you do the night before.
Yep.
So setting out your workout clothes, if that's what you do, doing all of these things that you're brushing your teeth, put out your tennis shoes, you're like taking off your makeup, do all these things that actually help you get ready for the morning so you don't feel so chaotic,
Yep.
which is great for any mom, right? We don't,
Yeah.
everybody's packing lunches and throwing stuff in, like throwing cereal. This is what I envision my future at some point because I have a 3-year-old, but like throwing cereal across, like sliding a bowl of cereal across my counter while like packing lunches and everything like that. But to keep myself saying, do it the morning before, set everything out, like do what you can to really increase your success in that sort of thing. And giving yourself attagirls, like that's my favorite. Sometimes you'll see me like during the day, I just give myself
high five yourself. Little pat on the back.
Like,
I like that.
Like, hey, you just like, we did it. We crushed it. If nobody is there to see it or anything like that, but something that I found that is my own self-love, because that's my love language, is words of praise and affirmation. So
me too.
Yeah. If I could have sticky notes from like everybody all the time across everything about like, you're doing such an awesome job, it would be awesome for me. So that's like my high five is like, you did it. Like you're doing your great job. So that's my way of showing myself some form of self-love. But not only that, I'm going to hit on a kind of a hard topic because this got me thinking while you're talking to yourself. How have you seen that change? I'm going to pick this last month because I know from seeing your posts and other moms commenting and me just going through it as well, I've been more aware of the way that I'm actually talking to myself and saying those things that are like, oh, instead of being like, oh man, you guys had Cheerio, like chocolate kisses for breakfast, which does happen at my house occasionally. But instead of saying, oh, you're a terrible mom, but it's being like, you had chocolate kisses, but you also had like something healthy on the backside of that, like a glass of milk or something on top of that to like kind of counterbalance that. Instead of saying, well, you're a terrible mom, like your kids are just gonna go right down the tube because they had chocolate kisses for breakfast. So like, what are
they're lost? They're lost souls, Mallory.
They're lost. They are totally lost at 3 years old. They're completely lost. But like, how have you found like tips and tricks to combat that sort of that feeling in your own mind of being like, especially if you're speaking to like a single mom or anything, being like, hey mom, you're at work, you're trying to hold us all together, give yourself a high five because you're doing a lot of work. You're not doing anything, you're not terrible. Give yourself a lot more credit for the things that you are doing and trying to go forward in that. Even maybe you don't have a supportive partner or spouse or anything like that. Like how to combat some of those thoughts that creep into your mind.
So I think what it comes down to, first of all, is awareness, right? Because once we become aware of things, aware of the thoughts that we think in our head, aware of the feelings that we feel in our hearts, we can learn how to better address them. And this is where affirmations for me come in, because they've been vital and have kind of changed my life. I know a lot of people are like, oh, affirmations. Like, I'm not going to sit there and tell myself, I'm not going to sit there and tell myself something that I don't believe. And most people, when they think of affirmations, they think of this: I am beautiful, I am kind, I am strong, I am brave. And it's like, no, I mean, those are like, I have a deck of affirmation cards for like toddlers, and I do use I am statements for toddlers because it's empowering and it simplifies it, But a lot of the things in my momformation are becoming aware of the situation, but then following it up with like, but it's okay. Like I allow, even though I've struggled today, I allow myself grace. That is an affirmation. Some people might not consider that an affirmation because it doesn't say I am, right? But it doesn't have to be like that. So becoming aware of, okay, I'm thinking negative thoughts in my head right now, but I have the power to change them. Like thought work is it's so eye-opening and mind-blowing when I dove into that type of stuff, to be like, I had to learn this because I believe this for so long. Like, we are not the thoughts that we put into our head. The thought is literally something that comes to your mind and you have the ability to be like, okay, go ahead and stay for a little while, or hey, get the heck out of here, right? Like,
right.
so
Yeah.
for me, when I started learning meditation, it was really hard because I'm a constant overthinker. And again, if you know anything about the Enneagram, like
Yep.
that's to a T. But so I would like sit here and be like, okay, like give me in my Zen, but I couldn't because I was like, oh, this and that and this and that. And so
Yeah.
until I learned to be like, okay, it's a thought. I'm recognizing why it's here, why I feel that way. And now I'm going to excuse it. Like now you can go, right? Okay, today, I'm making this up, but today my son just like really tried me and I yelled at him and I lost my crap on him and I'm just frustrated and I feel like a failure, right? Like that happens.
Right.
That's actually a true story. Like oftentimes my son does try me quite a bit, but I love him so much. And I've learned a lot through the process. So, okay, yes, I did. But what did I do? Did I lose my crap on him? Yeah. But guess what? It allowed an opportunity for a really good conversation at the end of the day.
Right.
I am not a failure. I am learning too. I'm a mom. And I think we get this idea of perfection, right? Like being the perfect mom and having it all together. And again, thanks social media, right?
Yeah,
For
right.
plugging that
Yep.
into our brains. But we're constantly being fed thoughts daily. Every time you scroll, every time you look at someone else, you're telling yourself they're perfect. They have it all together. This is what their life is like all the time. No, it's not. And I think when we can learn to master our thoughts, which is what I like to teach, right? Is like, accept what it is, be aware of how it makes you feel, and then release it. Because if you hold on to those things, those are going to become your limiting beliefs that you continue to live by day in and day out. And that is not a way to live, right? So recognizing how it makes you feel, thinking to yourself, okay, how does this make me feel? Do I want to hang on to this? No. Do I really believe I'm a horrible mom and I'm a failure? No. What do I do for my kids? Well, I do this. I keep them alive. I feed them. I take care of them. I help them with their homework. I do all these things. Does that make me a failure? No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
So asking questions is a huge thing to help you work through those negative thoughts. Seriously, grab your phone out, write it down in a notepad on your phone, or grab a piece of paper and just ask yourself questions. What do I feel like? Answer it. Why do I feel that way? Answer it. How does and just being able to work through, because our brain doesn't do that, right? It jumps from one scenario to the next. And oftentimes it's on a downhill, like rolling fast to get to the bottom. But if we can just slow down and be like, okay, pause. How is this making me feel? Why do I feel this way? How can I change that? So I really think it just comes down to awareness. Awareness and
I love that.
Is really like, maybe that seems a little complicated, but to me,
no,
we think it's harder. Like we want this big elaborate answer. And instead it's like the answers are right here. The answers are all inside of us. We just have to take the time to pause and listen.
I love that. Okay, we're going to pause really fast on that note. We're going to hop to commercial. You're listening to the Mindset Bloomcast with Mallory. I am your host, Mallory McGary. I'm the founder and CEO of Beautifully Blooming. You can find me at beautifullyblooming.com or at Mallory@beautifullyblooming.com. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Mindset Bloomcast with Mallory. Oh my goodness. I am the host and holy smokes. I am your host, Mallory McGary. I'm the founder and CEO of Beautifully Blooming. I've got my little kids here, so they're distracting me. You are listening to the WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcast, the #1 internet talk network. I'm here with my friend Ryanne, talking about all things self-love, all things mindset, especially for moms, and helping us elevate to the next level, become that next level person that we want to be. Everybody wants to level up in a way. And as you know, I have a business that helps moms create businesses of their own with using their passion to keep going and to find something that's there so they can use that positive overflow that they filled up their cup with, use that positive overflow to deliver into their kids. So we're here talking about all of these amazing mindset things. And we talked about some really great pieces of talking to yourself using your affirmations. One thing I want to bring back into that is knowing that affirmations don't always have to be I am statements. sometimes when I write mine down, mine are like, I allow, or I believe, or the, like change, like these things are happening. I just put, like change is coming or something like that. They're not fully always the I am statements. And I think that's important to not let not let yourself get caught up on trying to fill an I am statement with something, that it is something more than that. It can be more than that and keeping you going. So I want to pop in and talk about your amazing program, Thrive. So let's talk about what that looks like and what you cover in that amazing program.
So I always kind of knew like the fundamental principles that I believed in that helped me. And so I had mentioned to you as we were talking before, like I worked in the operating room for 14 years. And so we use acronyms all the time to remember certain things. And so I'm like, okay, as a mom, we have enough going on in our minds. Like, how can I break this down and make this simple for moms? And we've heard the word thrive a lot lately. The past few years, I feel like I know there's companies out there that use the word thrive. So for a long time, I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to use that word, but it just kept coming back to me. And I'm like, it flows so perfect though, like helping moms go from surviving to thriving. So thriving to me, like when I think of the word thrive, it's just an empowering word. Like, I don't care if you're a mom in business, if you just, or use the word just a mom, which I hate, but a lot of people say that all the time. So I don't care what it is you do, but if you want to do good or excel at something, I feel like thrive perfectly describes that feeling of that ambition or that feeling that you're chasing. So it just kept coming back to me and I'm like, I just need to use it. I just do. So I figured out how to kind of put in my processes to the letters in the acronym. And so thrive to me is helping a mom in any aspect of her life, like we said, in relationships, personally, in her maternal mental health struggles, or chasing a business or a goal or a PR, like whatever you're doing, whatever you want to do more of, like you feel called to do that, using these steps through it. And I'll break it down and just give you a quick little synopsis of each one. But so T in Thrive stands for targeting your intentions. And it kind of seems when you say that, you're like, oh, well, that's an easy step, but it's the first step, right? Like you have to figure out how you want to feel, what you want to do, and then the why behind it. Because so many times, and I think this with New Year's resolutions, I hate the word resolutions. And I focus the whole month of January. If you scroll back through my content on Instagram, there's so many good golden nuggets there. But I use the word intentions because I feel like resolutions has this like gross connotation, right? Like you set resolutions, blah, like you can't stick to them. No one likes them.
And what problem are you solving, right? That's exactly what resolution means to me, is what problem am I solving?
Exactly. And like you said, you just a few minutes ago, you were like, when you don't do that, then you feel like a failure. Mm-hmm. And so I like living intentionally, because even if you don't hit that goal or that resolution, right, you still intend to. That's something, and you can always live intentionally. You don't need an expiration date or, an end date for that. Like you can do that all the time. You can continue that on. So anyways, got sidetracked, but so,
sorry,
I digress really quickly. Fun fact about me. So T is targeting what it is, but also the why behind it. And I really like, there's this book. I don't know if you've ever heard of Danielle Laporte. Love her. She wrote a book called The Desire Map. And I actually got a lot of ideas from that and learned a lot about the T and the H section. So T is targeting your intentions. H is heart over head. So we live as human beings, we live in our heads, right? And so we have lost that ability to lead with our heart. And if you think about it, like back when you were a kid, what mattered to you? Did you think things out? No, you just did it because it brought you joy, right? Like I remember as a little kid watching like Toys R Us commercials. How old are you?
I'm 35.
Okay, I'm 34. I'll be 35 next month.
Yeah. So I
So
know all the things.
you know this. Yeah. So
Yep.
watching your Saturday morning cartoons and all the ads come on, right? And Toys R Us has this new Barbie or the Tamagotchi, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
You see this thing and you're like, oh my gosh, that would make me so happy if I had that. I have to do my chores. I have to do whatever it takes to be able to get me so that I can get that toy. And that's all that matters. And nothing else can stand in the way, right? Like you just want this toy.
Right.
And so you do all these things because that's what brings you joy. And then all of a sudden we grow up and we're taught like, whoa, simmer down there. Like feelings don't matter, right? And so then we think like, are we not worthy of chasing the things that we want simply because we're an adult now? So that TNH, figuring out what you want, how it makes you feel, why, getting out of our head, because our head is where we tell ourselves that we don't deserve those types of things, right? And leading with our heart and our core desires, which come from our heart. That then leads into R, which is release what's holding you back. I did a really cool release thing at the first women's retreat that I went to. And I wanted to release mom guilt because I was carrying a really heavy load of mom guilt, which we all do. But we did this fun little exercise. And so I actually include this as an exercise in the workbook that I created. And so we got a piece of paper and we wrote down, like, what is it you want to let go of? What is it? How does it make you feel? And then we got it out of our systems. We wrote it down. We crumpled it up and we threw it in this little fire dish that we lit everything on fire. And I literally watched this thing like just, turn to ashes and smoke and blow away. And then we wrote down what we wanted to fill that void with. So mine was nice. I got rid of the guilt and this feeling and that feeling and what do I want to fill it with? I want to fill it with true, authentic self-love. I want to fill it with, whatever it is you're letting go of. But that little exercise has stuck with me because every time that mom guilt creeps in, I'm like, nope, I burned that shiz away like 2 years ago. Like I don't carry that anymore, So it's amazing what a little exercise like that can do and the lasting effect that has. But really, and I have a bunch of different exercises that we just walk through and we lay it all out on the table. Like, this is what's holding me back. Well, how can I turn that into an empowering belief and really break that down? Kind of like that book, Atomic Habits, right? These small shifts that we can make, create change, because we always look at, well, this is how I feel and this is how I want to feel. And if you don't do that overnight, then you failed. Wrong, right? It's
exactly.
Tiny shifts that we willingly choose, and we have to show up, and it requires action and it requires work. It's not something that is going to be an overnight success. Trust me, like it's taken me years. And so I think we tend to just kind of make it harder on ourselves by thinking, if we aren't successful right away, then we're automatically a failure. And that is one of the biggest lies and limiting beliefs you can feed yourself right there. So that's release what's holding you back. I is invest in the inner work. We touched on this a little bit. These are creating the routines and the habits of how you want to feel. What do you have to do to feed your soul, to make you feel better, to create the environment that you want? For me, like I said, my morning routine consisted of prayer, meditation, journaling, moving my body. I have to do that every day or I feel like a failure.
Don't we all?
But the journaling, the gratitude, which is a huge one. And this is hard for a lot of moms, well, women in general, but moms specifically, because we think that everything that we're doing isn't enough. We never feel fulfilled or satisfied, or like motherhood is just hard. I always say motherhood is the toughest hood. It just is.
It really is.
Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all of the things. It's just a heavy load. And so if we can do these things, if we can focus on the things that we're grateful for, the things, the successes, the small wins, like I'm a huge advocate of celebrating small wins. If we can do those things, it makes the biggest difference in our lives. And I feel like gratitude is such an an underestimated tool. Like people think, oh yeah, gratitude. I've done a gratitude journal for 14 days. It didn't make a difference. Right. But true and real gratitude is
right
level. It's not just, I'm so grateful for my kids. I'm so grateful for my husband. No, it's grateful for the hard days. It's grateful for the trials. It's grateful for, oh my gosh, I woke up today and I took a deep breath. Like I'm living, I'm not in a hospital or beneath 6 feet below, right? Like we truly have so much to be grateful for. And when we are able to implement that practice along with all these other things that feed our soul, and it's going to look different for everyone else. But when we figure out what it is and how it makes us feel, it's going to create a brand new person. And when it does, not only does it change you, but it starts to change the people around you. Yes. You allow yourself, and I love proving this to women, but when you believe in your self-worth and you choose to show up for you, you are allowing other women permission to do this same thing. And when you do that, that is how we collectively grow together. Like that is the environment I want to create. That is my passion. That is my mission. That is my purpose. So that's invest in the inner work. And then that leads into V, which is visualize and manifest. I know there's a lot of woo-woo feelings around manifestation.
There is a lot of woo-woo feelings. But it's a thing. It works.
It is. And it really does. And let me just break it down for you really quick. So visualization, I started learning this by, guess what? Google, everyone's best friend. I just got on YouTube though, and I just searched like visualization and manifestation guided meditations. There are so many free tools out there. I am a strong believer of like investing in you, like literally paying money for courses and things to up level your life, because when you pay, you are believing that you are worth that investment. And that is 100%. A limiting belief that a lot of us women have, like, oh, I can't afford that. No, my husband won't let me, or whatever it is. I don't care. Like that's holding you back right there. Throw that thought out the window and know that you are worth it. Because then when you invest, you're going to show up for yourself more authentically than you are being like, oh, I watched this thing on YouTube and it taught me how, now I believe in my self-worth. Bull crap. No, you don't. So anyways, so visualize, go to YouTube, type in visualization meditations. You will learn that when you want to attain something, so your audience is mompreneurs, right? So so let's pretend like you either want to start a business or you have a business and you're kind of on that path of like growing your business. Right. So visualizing is so powerful. And there are like legit scientific studies out there that have proved that when you visualize and you practice visualization and manifestation practices on a regular basis, that you create the environment and the outcome and the goals and all the things that you want. But why is this? Okay, let's think about someone who wants to be like this amazing female entrepreneur, like wants to be recognized on social media, wants to be a speaker, do all the things. So if she was every day being like, I just don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, oh, this is hard. And she has these like negative beliefs and feelings around getting to that goal. Is she going to get to that by doing that? How quick she may eventually, but like, it'll be hard for a while. Mindset, it's going to take her a long time to figure things out. Whereas if she's focusing each day on like, okay, I'm going to think about my future version of myself and who I want to be. What does that person do? Does she sleep until 9? Does she, eat like crap and never work out? No, she's probably getting up every morning. She probably has a really strict morning routine. She probably holds herself accountable. She's probably investing in herself. She's probably surrounding herself with women who are doing that exact same thing. She's probably joining networking groups. She's probably putting herself out there and collaborating with other people instead of thinking it's a competition, and then your mind starts shifting like, oh, okay, well, if that's what they're doing, why am I not? Right? Like, what is she wearing? What does she smell like? What does she drive? What is she? And I'm not saying you have to like go buy a Mercedes Benz. Don't do that yet. Yeah, that is not what I'm saying. No. But these little shifts mentally create, and I'm a big, this is like a whole nother thing I could talk on, but I'm a huge believer in abundance. So like you create what you want. We are all creators, whether you want to believe that, if that's too woo-woo for you, whatever, but it is true. Like light attracts light, dark attracts dark. When you put out good, good comes back. Okay. So if you are doing this type of work, if you are investing in yourself, if you are visualizing, if you are manifesting, if you are doing all of these things, you are going to see change in your life. You can sit there and make excuses. You can sit there and say you're overwhelmed, but guess what? Overwhelmed is a choice. When I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, because I've used that as an excuse for so long. Like, oh, motherhood is just so overwhelming. I'm so overwhelmed. And I was listening to a podcast. Her name's Judy Holler. She wrote a book called Fear is My Homeboy. And I actually, when I started my business, she's the one who motivated me. I read that book, and that's when I was like, I am starting my business. And she's a famous like keynote speaker. I actually made a shirt with my business, and I sent it to her with her slogan on it. And I have video of her wearing it. Like she said my name like 10 times. I'm over here like fangirling over her. Anyways, she's amazing. And on her podcast, she talked about overwhelm. And she said, overwhelm is a choice. And I was just like,
whoa,
oh my gosh,
mind blown right there.
I'm choosing that. I really am. And it was so powerful. You'll have to go. Her podcast is called Yes and. And so she talks a lot about like, yes, accepting this and doing this about it. She's an improv. She got started in improv. And so that's, I guess, like the improv like keyword is yes
Keywords.
And.
Yeah.
So anyways, I totally went down a rabbit hole on that one. So that was visualize and manifest.
Visualization, yes.
And then, so I have a bunch of exercises too that like help you learn how to visualize and like little examples of what to do. And then E is expansion and growth, which is kind of what this all funnels down into, right? When we're doing these things, this is where we see that expansion. This is where that abundant mindset and stuff all comes back to return to us. This is where, okay, now we're seeing this growth. Now, what am I going to do with it? Like, it's kind of like you're now what do we do from here? Okay. So we've invested in ourselves. We've done the inner work. We've done this. Now it's time to go out and create, to expand your portfolio, to expand your relationships, right? And to grow, allow permission for other people to do the same. So I believe that with that 6-step process, I don't even care. Like, yes, women and moms are my audience, but like you can be a guy and this will still work for you. Like, I just believe it's that fun, like that foundational principle that you need to apply to whatever it is in your life to create change. And we all want change as moms, as women in business, as whatever it is. Like we don't like feeling stuck and stagnant, right? Like growth and progression is such a positive thing in, I mean, personally, emotionally, physically, and we all want to attain, what did you say, level up, or we all want to just progress to the next level, like become the next best version of yourself, right? I believe that your best version changes constantly. Like I make a bunch of funny reels that I have conversations with like my higher self. And so I kind of think of her as a real person. And what does my higher self want me to do? Like, is she going to be like, you're right, you suck, you're a failure? No, she's going to be like, girl, boss up. Own your shiz and
own your stuff.
Freaking do what you need to do to get to the next level. And then when you get there, guess what? She's like, good job. Like you said, pat yourself on the back, tell yourself you're doing a good job, compliment yourself, celebrate the small wins. That is a game changer. Okay. When you are celebrating those small things, I don't care how small, that is what creates drastic change in your life, because you are celebrating those small moments that before you'd be like, that wasn't really a win, you know, but you're like, no, yes, oh my gosh, I got out of bed and I got dressed today. Yes, you know, like, I mean,
exactly.
They can be so small. And that's another thing with self-love too, is like that I'm focusing on this month, is just simplifying how easy it is to show ourselves acts of self-love. It does not have to be expensive or elaborate. It can be very small and simple. In fact, the small and simple are sometimes the things that create the biggest change or the biggest difference in your life. So anyway, so that is Thrive in a nutshell.
I love it. I love it. And I think it's so important to have all of that. And especially if it's investing in just that next step of that, maybe it's that first $27 of something, or maybe putting kind of money and skin in your game, right?
Yep.
Skin in the game of what it is.
That was a really hard one for me because I didn't believe that I was worth investing myself in. And I've spent hundreds and thousands of dollars on courses.
I
And,
also have to.
some have been better than others, but I'm grateful for everything I've learned because I've shown myself like you're worth it, right? And self-love, self-worth is another thing I'm kind of combining in with self-love, because I feel like we have such a low sense of self-worth. And let me ask you real quick, when I say self-worth, what do you think of?
What I think of when you say self-worth is how I value myself.
Perfect.
And in like on a scale of 1 to 10, if I'm looking at a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like awesome, perfect, like everything always goes right all the time, and 1 being like we are just like barely making it in there. It's kind of like some days I'm a 1, I'll be honest, some days I'm a 10. Most of the time I usually sit in the middle, somewhere between like a 4 and a 7, depending on the day. But it's really kind of the value I have, how I value myself according to like what's happening in my space.
Yeah. So self-worth is what you value. It comes from internal validation, right? It's totally different than like self-esteem, confidence, whatever, because all of those are external validations. So I feel like a lot of people search like, how do I increase my self-worth? How do I, get more self-worth? Well, the truth is, and this might kind of change this perspective for you about self-worth, but I taught a class this last Tuesday, and so many women were like, oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way. And I'm like, really? Oh, well, I have got some golden nuggets for you then. So self-worth is something that we all have, right? If you think about it, like, and I don't just mean like religiously speaking, but we are all, regardless of what you think and how woo-woo this sounds, because I'm all about the woo-woo.
I love it.
But we are literally divine souls having a human experience, right? We are all here going through the same thing, all dealing with different issues, but we all have the same amount of worth. We are born worthy. We are worthy while we're here on earth. And when we leave, we still have that worth. There is nothing that you can do or say to increase or decrease that worth. It just is. So self-worth to me is a remembering, right?
I love that.
Not a getting better. I'm not like, if you get on Pinterest and say, how do I increase my self-worth? All these things are going to pop up. But the truth is you cannot increase your self-worth. Okay.
You just remember
you have it. Correct. So where it changes and what you can do and put action into is increasing your sense of self-worth.
I love that.
Meaning what you think about yourself. So if I'm the same here and here while I'm here, and I'm still gonna be worthy, but I don't feel it, how can I increase my sense of self-worth? I think it boils down to those 6 steps.
I love that.
That I mentioned before. But once we understand this collectively and we know like, okay, I am deserving of this. And this is where we don't give ourselves permission for this stuff, right? Because our sense of self-worth is on the lower end of the spectrum.
Really
right?
low.
We're a 1, not a 10. But when you start doing these things, you literally raise your vibration. Okay. We are all energetic beings. We all vibrate at certain levels. And this comes back to like abundance, right? So when you're doing these types of things, you are creating a more abundant life for yourself. You are going to see changes. You are going to level up. And guess what? That 1 is going to be closer to a 10 than it is a 1. But it's a believing and it's a remembering, because when you remember the grand scheme of things and what it is we're here for, we're here to collectively grow. We're here to love. We're here to better ourselves. You are worthy. Nothing you can tell yourself, nothing you've believed about yourself, nothing anyone else can say about you is going to change your worth. And when you remember that, and when you understand that, the game's going to change for you.
like my mind just, I like, that was a really, really good for me to hear too, of just like, I have the same amount of worth I came to earth with, that I came earthside with. I just need to remember that I have 100% of it, and to
It's
keep,
still there. You're
it's
still
still there. It's
worthy.
not
You're
going
still
anywhere. It's been there.
capable.
And
Yes.
some days I could feel like I'm only 25%, but I still have that other 75% is still there. It's just remembering that I still have that other 75% above that. So like, brilliant,
Yeah.
brilliant. My mind
That's
is just,
that growth, we just think we have to like do all of these things and we have to be this and do that. But the truth is, like, real growth actually comes
mhm,
from the deconstructing. Like, a lot of people think, oh, I just have to reconstruct my life to the way I want it to look. But a lot of
right,
times it's deconstructing everything and getting down, pushing aside all of those negative things we told ourselves our whole lives or believed, and deconstruction then allows for growth, right? So
right,
it's, you can't just go from here to here. You have to uncover the lies, all of the negative things we've ever
right.
told ourselves, we've ever believed. And that's healing, really. Like, if you want to,
Mhm,
that's another topic in and of itself, but
itself.
that's what allows healing and growth and change. And we're all here for progression. We all want to do better. We all want to feel better. We all want to be better.
Mhm,
And that is sometimes what we have to do. And oftentimes that deconstruction is not clean. It's not pretty. And we don't want to be there for long, but
yeah.
it's oftentimes critical and crucial for growth and development. So knowing that you're worthy, knowing that you're capable, and being able to really fundamentally believe that and have those steps and those processes implemented to help, that will help make that progression and that growth process so much easier.
I love that so much. Oh my gosh. My brain is still reeling from that like super golden nugget of things. But this has been such a great conversation. And I hope everybody packed as much as they could out of that, because I have notes. I have my little note card here of like all my notes that I've been slyly taking throughout our interview, and things that I really want to implement, not only on my end, but to help other people as well, because I feel like now I have been adopted into your community of just being one that just helps unite mom kind in that. And we're all doing
Yay!
the same thing. We're all uniting mom kind in the best ways that we all know how. And somehow we all unite really well, that we're uniting the same group of people, and but through totally different means of doing that same thing, but we're still touching each other's groups and saying, come just be united in whatever that looks like for you. So
Yep.
I love that so much. And my last parting question, because my program is all about becoming the leading lady. My program is called the Leading Lady Brand Builder, where you go through and build your own personal brands to create from a passion you have to going through and having a business at the very end of it. So when I say leading lady, what does that mean to you?
Well, I always say, like, you are the author of your own story, right? Totally
Hmm.
cliche, but that's what I think of. Like, when
Hmm.
I hear the word leading lady, I think of like this, you know, beautiful lady out on the front of a stage, like receiving her applause at the end of an amazing
Yep.
show, right? Like, that's your leading lady. Well, guess what? That is each of us, right?
Hmm.
We are creators. We get to decide how and what our life looks like. For me, I have overcome a lot of things.
Hmm.
And I have grown and I have learned and I've developed, I've understood, like I've come a long ways from where I was before, but I am the leading lady of my own story. And I have done it through trials. I have
Hmm.
done it through doing hard things that I didn't think I could do. I have allowed and granted other women the same permission to do the same thing, to show them that they're not stuck, that they have the tools, they have
Yep.
everything they need inside of them to be able to create the change that they want in their life, no matter how that looks for them. So I think, to be a leading lady, it is allowing yourself permission to show up authentically as yourself and love yourself through the process.
I love that. That is a brilliant answer. I love getting all the different answers from everybody because it means
pass?
something different. You did pass because it means something different for every person from what I think it is in trying to create, like you'll see this on my Instagram of like trying to create perfection. That's really me spending so much time trying to create perfection is what is perfect for me. It's not, it's my students and my clients that make it perfect and make it become what it is. And so I'm not going to be a perfect leading lady, but I'm going to be my perfect leading lady in life. And my story is different from everybody else's story. We may have interwoven paths or anything like that, but we're going to have our own story. And that's the best part to write, is your own story. I love that so much. So where can everybody find you? We'll include all of this in the show notes too, but where can everybody find you to jump into your Thrive program, your email list, whatever it is that goodies you've got going on?
So, I rebranded not that long ago. So on Instagram, you can find me at The Mentoring Mama, and it is MOMMA, not MAMA. And I will fight that is how it's supposed to be spelled, because everyone says mom, MAMA, but if you say that over, it's actually mama. Like it's the same sound. It's not mama. So anyways, The Mentoring Mama on Instagram, or my website is honestly mama, spelt the same way, co.com. So I am going to be changing that domain to Uniting Momkind. But anyways, right now that's where they can find me at. So
I love it. Love it. We'll include all of that in there. Thank you again for being here. So awesome to connect. Thank you everybody for listening. You are listening to the Mindset Bloomcast with Mallory. I am your host, Mallory McGary. I'm the founder and CEO of Beautifully Blooming. You can find me at beautifullyblooming.com or Mallory at beautifullyblooming.com. Please know that, remember that in a couple of weeks, we're having a live Q&A. So please email your questions or hop on live and we'll get all those questions answered via video in real time coaching in real life. And thank you for listening.